Hi guys, welcome back to Sew with Abby channel. This video is about making this beautiful crop top. This style can be achieved with any fabric. If this is what you are interested in, then keep watching and let's get started. Before I cut on my fabric, I'll be representing the style on this pattern paper, and the length I'm making use of is my shoulder to my half length. That's the length I cut out, and I cut out for both back and the front. Now I'll be working on the back first. So the first thing I'll do is to rule a straight line, that is the shoulder line, and then I'll measure my neckline, which is 4 inches for the width, and then for the depth I'll just measure 1 inch. This neckline is not actually necessary because I won't be making use of it. We are cutting off shoulder. Alright, after that I'll measure my shoulder plus ½ inch for seam allowance, then I'll come down by ½ inch. After that, I'll measure my armhole, that is my bust measurement divided by 6 plus 1½ inches, and then I'll rule a straight line and then an horizontal line as well. Then to get my armhole, the next thing I'll do is to measure my bust measurement. My bust measurement divided by 4, and then I'll mark it out. After that, I'll just cuff it. I won't be going in by ½ inch as we always do for our front armhole because this is the back. Then from my shoulder line, I'll measure my bust points. Then I'll rule a straight line. That is my bust line. My bust line, and the upper part there is the chest line. Now that I'm done doing that, the next thing is to represent my round measurements. I've actually measured out the bust, so I'll just measure out my waist divided by 4, and then I'll add seam allowance. I'm making use of 1½ seam allowance. Then I'll rule it out. Okay, now that I'm done, the next thing to do is to, we are cutting off shoulder, so now I want to cut out the off shoulder. I'll place my tape from my shoulder line, and then I'll measure 5 inches. Yes, I'll be cutting out the remaining, so I'll just rule a straight line, and then I'll add ½ inch seam allowance. I'm extending my armhole here. I can now cut it out. Now the back piece is ready, and I'm just going to work on the front piece. I'm going to be repeating the same process, but the only difference is that I'll be dividing the armhole line into 2. I'll mark it and then I'll go in by ½ inch. That is the only difference. I'll just open this and then I'll mark the same 5 inches I marked for the back piece, and then I'll come to the middle line there, and then I'll measure 7 inches. Now it all depends on how much of your cleavage you want exposed. If you want it as deep as the one that thumbnail, then you can measure more than 7 inches. Then I'll go to the edge here, and then I'll measure 2 inches because I don't want it too wide. That 2 inches will be reduced to 1½ when I hem the down part. And then the allowance will be going off, the seam allowance. I'll be cutting it out, it's not needed. So I'll connect the 3 dots like that. After this, I'll just cut it out. Now the upper piece is going to be a waist. Imagine if I had cut this straight on my fabric. Now the next thing to do is place this on my fabric and cut out. The back piece is going to be on fold while I'm going to be cutting 2 of the front piece. Okay, I already cut on my fabric and I cut 2 of the back piece because I'll be using the fabric as lining, and I cut 4 pieces for the front because I'm using that as lining as well. So the next thing I'm going to do now is to start sewing. I'll just take this to the sewing machine and then I'm going to sew it round. I'm sewing every part apart from the armhole, and then for the back piece as well I'm going to do that, only the armhole because I'm going to use that to turn it out. Okay guys, I already stitched all the sides, I turned it out and then I ironed it. So the next thing I want to do now is to fix belt because there's going to be belts at the front. So these are the belts. I cut it out. I cut out about 3.5 inches and then I folded it. Now the length is as long as you want it to be. When I take it to the sewing machine, I'll turn it to the wrong side, I'll stitch it and then I'll turn it right out, and then I'll place it like this at the edge of the front piece, and then I'll stitch it, and then I'll do the same to the other front piece. Let me go and do that. I'll come back to show us. Alright guys, this is it. I already stitched the belt to the 2 front piece. The next thing to do is to join the sides of the top. So I'll be joining it at the wrong side, the right side facing the right side, and then I'll place the second front piece as well. Now when joining, I'll be creating an opening at either side, but I'm choosing this particular side I'm touching now. So when I get to that place, I'm going to stop because the belt is going to pass through the hole I'll be creating. So it can be either of the side. I just chose this side. Alright guys, I joined the side and this is the hole I created. The belt is passing through, you can see it. Now the next thing to do is to cut out the sleeve for the top. Now this is a yard of the fabric. I folded it into 4 because I want to cut the 2 sleeves together, and for the length I cut out 17 inches. So there's not much on this sleeve. The only thing I just want to do is to mark out the parts that will go into the armhole. So because there's going to be an elastic here, I'll just measure like 12 inches and then I'll use free hand to measure out the part that will go into the armhole. So that is it, and I'll just cut it out. I'll create a casing for the elastic at the upper part and the down part as well. Now I'm just going to separate the sleeves and then I'll go and fold the casing for the elastic. Okay, I already created the casing for the elastic. Now the next thing to do is to pass the elastic into the casing created. So I'm going to pass in the elastic. I'm going to do that for the 2 sleeves, both at the upper part and at the down part. Okay, this are the sleeves, and the next thing I'm going to do is to attach it to my top. Okay guys, I fixed the 2 sleeves, but I had to reduce the neckline because when I fitted it, it was gaping, so I had to reduce it. Thanks for watching. If you find this video helpful, kindly like and share, and if you haven't subscribed yet to this channel, please do and turn on the notification so that whenever I drop new videos, you'll be notified. See you in my next video.